couple of nice pieces up there in New Orleans football right now, one of which we already kind of discussed in terms of the New Orleans Saints. And help us out here, because we talked about Taysom Hill, right? And we talked about a quote that you had pulled for the article itself. How much time, to your knowledge, how much time did Taysom Hill actually spend on practicing tight end? And we know he wasn't in the meeting rooms, but like on the practice field, how much time did he actually spend with that position group in the past?
Like doing positional drills and stuff?
Yes.
As far as I know, zero. I mean, when they were going through walkthrough or install, he'd obviously be in the positions that he was going to play during the game. So like on Fridays when they do red zone, they let us kind of see that period, the install of that. He'd be out there doing some of the different stuff he does, but like going through drills, learning how to block, how to run a route, different things like that, nothing at all. I mean, he practiced with the quarterbacks, and that was his main focus. So yeah, now that's kind of shifted a little bit. He's sitting in those meeting rooms, seeing things as a tight end, kind of hearing that stuff for the first time. Hasn't been able to do anything on the field this offseason because the foot injury, but when he comes back, that's where he's going to be, and they're going to be actually teaching him how to play tight end instead of a guy kind of going out there and doing tight end things from the perspective of a quarterback. So they think there's a lot of room for improvement there, and I think it's a logical thought. You teach somebody how to actually do something instead of them winging it, they're probably going to get a little bit better at it.
And Nick, I want to kind of ask you maybe what his role is going to be. I know tight end is going to be the position next to his name, but obviously there's a Y, there's an F, there's more of an H-back where you're kind of the hybrid tight end / fullback. Like, what do you think is like, what are they going to try to do? What maybe limitations will he have? Can he do some of the things that, a Y is asked to do? Because for me, I'm thinking more of an H-back type where you're on the move. If you're lead on a stretch or if you're doing different things, they're going to put you on the move to put you in a better position to maybe succeed in some things that you've just really never done.
I think your thought process is probably right there. They don't really see him necessarily as like a full-time Y type tight end, the inline blocker. They think he can do some of that stuff, and they can bring him in, here and there to block. And he does block well, and I think there's some flexibility there. But I think primarily they see him like in the H-back role, some of the move tight end stuff. And look, I think he's still going to get some snaps at quarterback to run some of those power plays and some different things like that, down in the red zone, kind of getting them off into some of those situations where you can draw somebody in and maybe, throw a little pop pass to somebody in the back of the end zone. Stuff like that, I think we're still going to see. And I think it's actually going to be interesting. One of my thoughts was that early in the season, they were going to overcorrect, and we probably wouldn't see any of that stuff. And then later on, there'd kind of be a course correction and it'd even out a little bit. But Dennis Allen talked about him this week and kind of said he still envisions him doing a lot of that different stuff. So maybe that won't be the case. I kind of thought that there'd be like, well, that was Sean's thing, leave it over there. And then eventually they'd realize like, hey, some of these plays were effective, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be how it plays out. But overall, I think his main role will probably be more the H-back stuff, more the move tight end stuff, and less than line stuff.
Talking Nick Underhill, Nick_Underhill on Twitter. New Orleans Football is the site. It's growing every day. They got Pelicans coverage, all of it in the network. It's so good. One of the big takeaways from minicamp, Nick, seems to be that Olave is the big deal. Is the real deal. And I know it's tough, right? Like it was. We were making jokes the other day because one of the headlines on the site mentions Olave, and then it's like, and Kevin White impresses, which is like, okay, this is minicamp, right? Like this is minicamp. But in your view, you watch more film than almost anyone I know. What has made you come to the conclusion that Olave looks like the real deal?
Hold on. First of all, I got to defend the Kevin White thing. There were 6 passes caught that day.
I know.
There were 6 passes caught that day. So, like, if you're looking for a headline, there's 6 events. So he's stuck in there. He had the best catch of the day. And look, some of the stuff Kevin White does, I'm gonna bring your dad into this conversation because last year when he showed up, me and him were standing next to each other. First practice, man, Kevin White can actually play. And he looks good in practice, and then something happens into the games, and he can't catch anymore. Like, he gets in his head, but you see why he was a first round pick and why people keep giving him a chance. So I'm going to defend that.
Okay, yes,
I caught
I
a lot
love
of crap for Kevin White in the headline, and maybe I won't next time. But hey,
no, dude, do it. No. Like you said, objectively, he deserved to be mentioned, so you have to. But yes, some jokes were had.
We don't want to overhype him. We know what he is. And sometimes I'm wondering, why is he still out there? But maybe he'll put it together, and if he does, they'll have a player. So, I mean, I get why he's there, but, it's, also probably past time. But on Olave, yeah, I mean, you just see it. Like, it's not a hard evaluation. Like, you go out there and immediately it's like, oh, he can play football. Like, he moves well. I think some of the stuff he does marries well with Jameis Winston's talents. We didn't see a lot of that in these practices. They weren't really pushing the ball down the field, but he made some physical catches too, which is kind of been the knock on him. And granted, it's not padded physical catches. It's, kind of just in traffic a little bit. So when guys are hitting and meet them at that catch point, we'll see if he can complete those plays. But, he just looks really good out there. And look, the other guy that I think, my main takeaway from camp is I think Jarvis Landry is going to make Jameis a better quarterback. Like he just fits well in this offense. Last year, Jameis threw 8 slants through his 7 appearances, 8 slants total. Like, I think we saw 8 slants in 2 days of practice just between Jameis and Jarvis. So I think that part of the field is going to open up. I think Olave is going to open things up. I just think these guys are going to make Jameis's job easier, and they're going to help Jameis elevate his game. And they get Mike out there, and you kind of really see like a nice combination of players that's going to come together. And that was one of the big questions going into this is like, how's Jarvis and Jameis going to fit together? Their games are kind of a little bit opposite, but they really aren't. Like, it was an easy adjustment, I think, and I think it's going to keep looking better over time. But yeah, both these guys, man, it's a nice change to actually see like professional NFL pass catchers out at these practices, because like it was a year ago we didn't see that.
No, you did not. Hey, Nick, last week we talked a lot about David Johnson, the running back, and he came in and he was in minicamp with the Saints, doesn't get a deal done, and now there's rumors he's going to sign with Pittsburgh. What happened there? Was it him? Was it the Saints? Was it maybe both?
From my perspective, he didn't pop. It didn't look like necessarily like this is somebody that they had to go throw money at right away. I thought maybe, it would take some time if they brought him in. I think that they maybe, over time, like it looks a little bit different. He made a couple plays, but it wasn't necessarily, head and shoulders above like a Zigbo or Abram Smith or some of these other guys that are on the roster. So if there was a level of interest there, like I don't think it like was let's throw money at this guy. It was probably like a minimum deal type situation, and maybe there's better money somewhere else. But I don't think it's going to be a mistake if they keep looking and or even to stay with the guys that they have in house. Like I said, he did a couple things that looked okay, but it wasn't anybody blowing you away or anything like that. And it's also kind of hard to evaluate that when they aren't like actually running the ball. It's we're looking at him running in space, making catches, stuff like that. But that's part of his game, and I didn't necessarily think it was head and shoulders above like some of the other guys over on the roster.
Talking Nick Underhill here on Off the Bench. Nick, how has we haven't talked about this a ton. How has the replacing of Marcus Williams gone thus far, do you feel?
So far, it looks okay. They didn't have Marcus May out there in these team periods, and there wasn't, a lot of stuff getting pushed down the field. So kind of seeing that range, it's just not something that was really on display yet. But, I think some of the stuff they're going to be able to do, like you kind of see some of the process coming together, and they're gonna play defense differently. It's just has to happen that way because your scheme before, I think, played to your strength, which was Marcus Williams' range. They don't have that range anymore, so now it's going to be playing to the versatility of May, Tyrann Mathieu, P.J. Williams, a guy like Bryce Thompson, who looks like he's in good position to possibly make the team. All these guys can play a lot of different positions, and I think it's just going to be a lot of guys moving around doing different things. And I think we're going to see some inverted type coverages even where these guys are down playing, some cornerback and the cornerbacks are dropping back. It's just, there's a lot of different stuff that I think they're thinking about doing. And I think that's going to be really the identity of the defense. And it was before. I mean, DA's kind of, the hallmark of his defense is disguise, but I think that he's kind of, set out to put it to, a whole nother level. And I think a lot of this stuff was deliberate. Like, they spent money at safety. They just didn't spend money on the safeties that were here before.
Yeah.
So One of the, like, I heard very early, like before free agency, like Tyron's name was floating around, and it didn't happen, but they ended up spending a lot of money on him, and that ended up being the guy. And I kind of believe that was the guy the whole entire time, even though it took some time for that situation to play out. They didn't necessarily throw all the money at him, but they threw a good amount. And I don't think they're really gonna hurt too much from it. I think it might take a little bit into the season. The communication and all that stuff that they got to figure out in live situations. And Marcus May possibly missing some games early on. You're going to start that process and then possibly have to restart it again. But I think once everything gels, I think they're going to be really good at safety, and I think they have a lot of options. And I think even guys like PJ are going to find more snaps this year probably, and I think we're probably going to see more dime packages, 6 DBs on the field. I just think that's going to kind of be the identity of the defense. And when you see them out there, all these different guys, all the places they're lining up, it's very clear that like they wanted to do something different in the secondary from them what they had before.
Nick Underhill at NewOrleans.football is the NewOrleans.football is the site. Nick_Underhill is him on Twitter. Go sign up. It's so worth it. You got somebody in the chat talking about it right now. Sean Cahill saying cannot recommend more. Get Nick's subscription. So go do that. Nick, you have a great day, man.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.
All right, when we get back, let's close out hour number 2 of OTB.